All right, guys, happy Monday. Before we get into today's episode of Chicago Bears Now, coming up, new Caleb Williams rumors. Help us reach 87,000 subscribers. Daily content here on Bears Now. I would love nothing more than to wake up tomorrow morning and that number be at 87,000. So if you want daily Bears news and rumors coverage, if you want to stay up to date with the latest surrounding the NFL draft and free agency, we're the channel for you. Subscribe, and let's dive into today's show. I'm Harrison Graham. I wanted to dive into this Kliff Kingsbury news and how it impacts the Bears as the Washington Commanders hired Kliff Kingsbury last night. It became official this morning, so he's not going to pull what he did in Las Vegas and bail. He has put ink on paper. After spurning the Raiders, he will become the Commanders' new offensive coordinator. And, of course, this has sparked a lot of new Caleb Williams chatter, rumors, and, of course, the Bears have the number one pick. And what does it mean? Is he not going to be in Chicago? Are the Bears going to trade with Washington? We're going to cover all that here on today's show. But how about Adam Schefter stoking the flames here? Let the speculation begin. He says Kliff Kingsbury coached Caleb Williams last season. Williams was a standout quarterback at Gonzaga High School in Washington, D.C. The Commanders currently hold the number 2 overall pick and are in striking distance of the number 1 pick that belongs to Chicago. Now, you also have this. Now, I wouldn't read too much into this. Caleb Williams on Instagram, my dog, congrats, kind of throwing the tweet or the IG post on his story that ESPN put out, and I wouldn't put too much into that. He likes Kliff. He's congratulating him. That doesn't mean too much, but that doesn't mean there aren't legitimate reasons that for Caleb Williams to go to Washington. He grew up in the D.C. area, and he does have a good relationship with Kliff Kingsbury. So it's understandable to think and to speculate and to wonder if Caleb would like to reunite, with Kliff in Washington, play close to home, an area he's comfortable in. That is certainly a conceivable thought. Now, I think one thing that is definitely worth mentioning here is that Washington is a much more attractive landing spot for Kliff Kingsbury. So, I don't want people to, connect dots of, well, Kliff left the Raiders because he's now for sure getting Caleb Williams. No, the Commanders are just in a better position for an offensive coordinator than the Raiders are. Why? You've gotten access to a quarterback prospect with that number 2 pick, whether it's Caleb or someone else. Even if the Bears take Caleb, if you're Kliff, I get to groom Drake Maye, I get to groom Jaden Daniels, sweet. Oh, by the way, the NFC East is much more manageable than the AFC West, where you have to go through Mahomes and Reed, Herbert and Harbaugh now, even Sean Payton in Denver, whereas in the NFC East, you have the constantly underachieving Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, who are kind of a mess right now. So that's why it's more attractive. And, by the way, Washington gave him a 3-year deal. Vegas only gave him a 2-year deal. So I don't think you look at this and it's like he took the Raiders job and then Washington called and was like, hey, we're getting Caleb Williams, and he flipped. Is there a chance they get Caleb? Sure. But the Bears still control that. The Bears don't just have to be like, oh, my God, they hired Kliff. We just have to trade the number 1 pick to Washington. That's not how this works. It's just not reality. I think Kliff took a better opportunity, period, end of story. Did the percentage chance go up after they hired Kliff of getting Caleb? Maybe. But again, that more comes down to the Bears and their willingness to trade the pick versus, Washington, hiring Kliff Kingsbury is just some magic dust to land Caleb Williams. At the end of the day, the Bears have the number 1 pick and Washington has the number 2 pick. Now, the question is, should Chicago trade down with Washington? Type Y for yes, type in for no, because there's an argument to be had that, Washington, you want Caleb? Come get him. Prove to us how much you want him with your trade offer. So Y for yes, in for no. Let me know what you guys think. Should Chicago trade down? Coming up, we will get into some Bears-Commanders trade buzz and what a potential trade could look like if the Bears do move down with the Washington Commanders. We'll dive into all of that. But first, today's show is sponsored by Mando. Go to shopmando.com. Use code CHAT for $5 off. Guys, usually you hear the phrase New Year, New Me. Well, this year it's New Year, No Stink. Today's show is sponsored by Mando, from the makers of Lume Deodorant. Mando is here to make sure this year you showcased your best hygiene ever. If you suffer from stinky feet armpits, or even below the belt, then Mando is here for you. As the Mando doctor developed a clinically proven odor blocker. New customers get $5 off their starter pack with code CHAT at shopmando.com. The Mando starter pack includes a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Don't be the smelly guy in the car when traveling. Don't be that stinky guy at the gym either. Get going with Mando. Go to shopmando.com. Use code CHAT to get $5 off today. That equates to over 40% off the starter pack, which you can see right here. It's code CHAT at shopmando.com. That link is in the comments and in the description. Start smelling better in the year of 2024. Don't be that one person in the friend group that people don't like being around because you're constantly smelling bad. Okay, so let's get to the trade buzz now. Could Chicago trade down to number 2 with Washington? Of course, that chatter is going to increase, and it already has, because that's how rumors work, right? The internet. Well, Kliff Kingsbury, Caleb, maybe he's unsure about Chicago, blah, 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 blah. I found this interesting, and this was actually before Kingsbury got hired in Washington. Brad Spielberger, who isn't a reporter, he's more of a cap expert, but he does get scoops, especially around Chicago. And like he was all over the Montez Sweat trade, for example. Here's what he said. What I've heard, by no means has Caleb definitively said he doesn't want to go to Chicago. That's good. Waldron is a good hire, and he works with the QB collective where Caleb is now training. Good. Caleb and company do trust Kliff Kingsbury. There's that. Chicago would probably be able to get the number 2 pick, number 40 pick, and a first in 2025 for the number 1 overall pick. That's a pretty good haul. So if you are on team trade the pick, to move down 1 spot and still get 40, which was the Bears pick that they traded for Montez Sweat, you get that pick back, and a first next year, that's a pretty good offer to move down 1 spot. Now, I would still argue, if your evaluation tells you that Caleb's the best quarterback in this draft, and it's not neck and neck with Drake Maye or Jaden Daniels, like if there's at least a somewhat notable gap there, and you like Caleb better than Justin Fields, then you should just draft Caleb. But if it is neck and neck, or if you do really like Drake Maye or Jaden Daniels, or if you still are open to keeping Justin Fields, then a trade package like that is pretty damn appealing, right? So in some ways, this might actually be a good thing for the Bears that Kliff went to Chicago, because Kliff went to Washington, because Chicago might be able to just get a king's ransom to just move down 1 pick. So I'll put this trade on screen in a trade graphic here and ask you guys if you would do this trade, T for trade or P for pass. Number 2 overall, 2nd round pick, number 40, and a first next year to move down 1 spot. Would you make this trade? Type T for trade or P for pass. Let me know down in the comment section below. Now, another wrinkle to this and theories you hear, and, is Caleb, is he now going to pull a John Elway and Eli Manning, force the Bears' hands here? I just, I don't really see it. If Chicago wants to draft Caleb, they can, because they're sitting at number 1. Now, again, if they want to go public and pull an Eli, they can do that. But even Colin Cowherd has come out and said they're not going to do that, right? Like, even after he stoked the fire, right, and was like, oh, they don't love Chicago, his camp called him directly and was like, we're not doing that. We're not pulling an Elway. We're not anti-Chicago. Like, I just don't see that happening, especially considering the public perception around Caleb is like not the best. I think a lot of it's been overblown, but if he comes out and does that, if his camp does that, then it adds fuel to that fire of, oh, he's a diva, he's this, he's that, and I don't think they want that connotation around him. So I don't think they're going to do that. And again, things to remember for the Bears and why it's an attractive spot right now is I think they're ready to win. They blew 3 games this year that they should have won pretty easily and were close in several others and still went 7-10. This easily could have been a 9 or 10 win team this year. They've got a lot of cap space, or over $60 million right now. It can get over $80 million if they cut Eddie Jackson and Cody Whitehair. You also have another top 10 pick. So if you draft Caleb at 1, you also pick at number 9 to add another stud player. And the offensive staff is good on paper. Now, would I have fired Eberflus and gone with an offensive head coach? Yeah, I would have. But for keeping Flus, they put together a pretty good staff. Shane Waldron has a good reputation. You bring in Thomas Brown, who's interviewed for head coaching gigs. Like, you did a nice job in revamping this offensive staff. Yeah, it's on paper. We don't know for sure how it's going to play out, but Caleb shouldn't run from Chicago. Like, that would be my advice to him. Like, of course, he can do what he wants, but I view this as an awesome opportunity. You can be that dude at quarterback that the Bears haven't had. You can change the narrative of what quarterback play in this city can be, and he's capable of doing it. And I think he does have a bit of an ego, which you should want your quarterback to have, right? Like, he should have the mindset of, yeah, I don't care that the history of QB play in Chicago sucks. I'm going to change that. So hopefully he's got that attitude. Hopefully he wants to come here. I don't think he's going to force the Bears' hand. Let me know what you guys think. If you think he will do that, type F for force or W for won't. But listen, that doesn't mean the Bears aren't interested in trading down. That doesn't mean Washington isn't going to try to trade up. There's chatter that 4 or 5 teams are going to make big offers. So this by no means is like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. They're going to take Caleb. But if they want to do that, which is my point, they're going to, barring the 0.01% chance that Caleb does force their hands, and I just don't see that coming, if I'm being completely honest. All right, guys, appreciate everybody for tuning in. You can follow me on socials at HGrabNFL. Also, 87,000. Can we get there? 184 away. Help us out. Let's hit that next milestone. We, of course, will be live this afternoon, 4 o'clock Central Time. We'll talk more about this Caleb Williams drama and plenty of other news and rumors items that are out there as well. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll see you soon here on Chicago Bears Now.